Very good afternoon to all of you. Now, the last class, what we had discussed was about production function. Yes? So, production, and we had shared that the production is related to the cost because once you start producing something, there will be the cost incurred, isn't it? So, today we are going to discuss about cost, and all these chapters are interlinked. So, we started with basics about what exactly is economics, business economics, followed by the demand, supply. Then we had shared about the production, and now we are sharing cost. So you should revise all the chapters before we go for revising this because all are interconnected. If you do not understand the basics of production, you will not understand cost. And if you can recap, we had discussed about producer's equilibrium, just similar to the consumer equilibrium, what we had shared in the producer equilibrium, we had taken isocont and isocost. Yes, because the producer can be at break even. That means no profit, no loss. Condition to that, the cost incurred is equal to the revenue generated. So, or the output through output sales, whatever is the revenue generated. So that is why the cost in production always goes hand in hand. Okay, so since I'm taking it implicit that you know the concept of production thoroughly, and since we are starting with cost, so it becomes easy for you to correlate the concept of production with related to the cost. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about cost, theory of cost, what are the different categories of cost a firm may incur, then what is the relationship between different cost components and the cost function, how the cost function is different from the production function, then what is the short-term period and what is the long-term period. So we had shared factors of production. Remember we had shared when we were talking about factors of production. जब हम factors of production की बात कर रहे थे तब हमने शेयर किया था जैसे land है, machines है, equipments है. Is it possible to increase in the short period of time? You cannot increase, no. You cannot buy new land. You cannot go for buying new machines. You cannot go for completely changing over the technology of production process. उसमें सब में time लगता है. It takes some time. But to get more raw material or to increase the number of contract laborers, it becomes easy, isn't it? So जो variable factors होते हैं जिसको आप change कर सकते हैं, वो आप कब कर सकते हैं? Short term में. और long term में what you have to do? Long term we have to go for. So we have to go for in the long term what we have to go through. In long term we have to see both the components. The Shivam, regarding recorded lectures, you have to talk to Board of Studies. Okay. So you will get access to that. So when we talk about long term can be any factor, which is like you have more funds. So you can buy new machines, you can acquire new land, you can go for new technology, you can have your presence in other markets also. So हर firm का एक short term period होता है, एक long term होता है. Reason being, कुछ factors short term में fixed होते हैं, and there are certain factors which you can vary. So similarly, we will be sharing the cost component with respect to why I'm referring to production, because अगर हम production का reference नहीं देंगे तो आप cost नहीं समझ पाएंगे. So that is very important to connect production and cost, because जब तक कोई goods produce नहीं होंगी, services produce नहीं होंगी, तब तक cost incur नहीं होगी. But there are certain costs which will always be there before you start producing. So we'll be sharing that. Isn't it amazing to see that the production, before you start the production, the cost will be there. And there are certain costs which can vary as you increase the production. So both ways, cost components are there. Now, if you analyze any firm in the market or any business unit, so just production function hota hai, production output is a function of factors of input. What are the factors of input? Factors of input are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Now, these factors of production will be having some price attached to it, isn't it? So if you have your own land, then in that case, you are foregoing rentals. अगर आपने वो land किसी को lease पे दिया होता या rent पे दिया होता, तो you would have got certain amount of money, so you're not having that. So that means you're using that land. So there's a cost involved of using the land, which is of your own. But if you take it on rent, तो आप rent उसका price हो जाएगा land का. Yes. Similarly, capital. So capital you will be taking loan, or you will be going for paying from your own money, whatever you have your equity. Then in that case, that money, if you would have deployed somewhere else, आपको एक interest मिलता, वो आपको नहीं मिल रहा है. So that also is a cost, whether you use your own money or you take loan. Okay, so that is also cost factor. Then you have labor. So if you go for some labor working for you, maybe skilled people, maybe unskilled people, आपको सबको कॉस्ट इनकर करनी पड़ेगी, कुछ ना कुछ उनको सैलरी देनी पड़ेगी, wages you have to pay to them. So that is also cost component. So the bottom line is that when you produce anything, you will always incur cost. Okay, so that's why. And why do you produce anything? You produce anything reason being your consumers, they demand that product or service. If they are not demanding, or if they'll not have demand in the future, you will not be able to. Why do they have demand? They have demand because it creates utility for them. Yes. So ऐसे dot by dot connect करते जाइए, so things will become very easy in economics. Otherwise, if you read concepts in silos, आपने production अलग से पढ़ लिया, cost अलग से पढ़ लिया, demand अलग से पढ़ लिया, then the things will become very complicated. So that's why I'm referring again and again. We always start from the first chapter and then gradually to the current topic which we are shared. So we are going to discuss today theory of cost. Okay. So what exactly is theory of cost and what are the components which we will be discussing? मैंने आपसे पहले शेयर कर लिया. That first and the foremost is about cost होता क्या है? What is cost? Number two, what are the different categories of cost? Cost, different categories of cost हो सकती है. एक cost जो बढ़ती जा रही है, the cost which is continuously increasing, the cost which remains same all throughout, the cost which may increase over the period of time, and the cost which may decrease over the period of time, and whatever may be the reason that we will be sharing. So there are different cost components. कुछ cost को आप अपने books में लिखते हैं, accounts books में लिखते हैं, कुछ cost को आप लिखते ही नहीं. So some cost you do not mention in your books. Some cost you mention, some cost you explicitly see, जो आपको दिखती है कि हाँ ये cost components हैं. कुछ cost ऐसी है which you cannot see and which you do not realize, but that's a cost incurred. जब आपने expenses calculate करेंगे, then you will realize that. Okay, so what are the different categories of cost? What exactly is the meaning of cost? Then what exactly is cost function? Cost function होता क्या है? What is the mathematical relationship or the expression of cost function? Then what are the different term period? What is the difference between the short-term and the long-term cost function? Is it same? Is there any difference? If there's a difference, what is the level of difference between these two? Is it uniform all across the firms, or is it vary from firm to firm? Then what is the linkage between production and the cost? Production and cost का क्या connection है? What is the relationship between production and cost? Then we will be sharing about economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. This topic will cover in next class. So we will be confining ourselves to up to the linkages between production and cost function. So to start with, we are starting with meaning and different types of cost. Cost होती क्या है basically? So basically cost analysis, if you go for a cost analysis of firm, what are the important factors you will see? That you will analyze that if we are producing something, then the cost is changing with respect to the size of output. जितना ज़्यादा हम production कर रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से cost बढ़ रही है. So one factor to analyze is size of the output. If size of output is increasing, then is the cost component increasing? Is cost increasing by what percentage the cost is increasing? So one factor, cost analysis, one of the factors is the level of output. At what level you are producing your goods and services. Second is scale of operation. Scale of operation, आप large scale पे production कर रहे हैं, small scale पे कर रहे हैं. You are a micro industry, you are like a conglomerate, whatever you are. So scale of operations is, with the scale of operations, जितना ज़्यादा हम अपना operational area wide करते जा रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से cost बढ़ रही है या constant है या change हो रही है. So that is again scale of operations which you have to see. Then prices of factors of production. Is the land cost increasing over the period of time? Is labor becoming more expensive? They are asking for more salary. Overall country में wage rate बढ़ रहा है क्या? So you have to offer high salary to the employees. Or is it because land का cost बढ़ रहा है तो rental cost बढ़ती जा रही है क्या? So that is the factor which is affecting our cost component. Or is it capital जो है expensive हो गया है? To get a loan, you have to pay more higher rate of interest. So what is the factors of which factors of production? What is their pricing? And how much resources do we have? So that हमने ISO cost discuss किया था. ISO cost में हमने क्या share किया था? एक firm है उसके पास definite amount of funds है and they know about the labor की cost क्या है, capital की cost क्या है. So we had shared ISO cost and we had discussed about that the firm has a limited amount of funds and they know about that what is the price of land, what is the price of capital, labor, and respectively they have to decide about that how much quantum of labor we can have, how much quantum of capital we can have. So prices of factors of production बहुत important है किसी भी firm की cost analysis के लिए. So it's very important component to analyze the cost component of the firm. So price of factors of production also makes difference. Then cost analysis. Now you see, हमने जब production की बात की थी, we spoke about production. That production is not in terms of financials. जब आप output की बात करते हैं, आप output बात करते हैं that 100 kgs of goods are produced or 1000 kg of goods are produced or these many kilos of yarns are produced or these many liters of milk is produced. So you talk in terms of physical production. Yes. जब आप production की बात करते हैं तो physical aspects में बात करते हैं. How much is the quantity, how much are goods produced respectively. But when we talk about cost, we always talk in terms of financials. Because हर एक चीज का price होता है. There's a price involved. And when we talk about price, so it is from the financial perspective. So cost is always from the financial aspect, but production is always from the physical aspect. So when you talk about production, we always connect with physical factors. कितना production हुआ, how much is the output. But when we talk about cost आप rupees में calculate करेंगे, dollar में calculate करेंगे अगर आप national market में है, whatever it is above. So you calculate in terms of, it is of financial terms. Okay, so cost is always expressed in financial terms, but output or the production is always expressed in physical terms. That is why जब आप cost analysis करते हैं, when you analyze the cost component for your firm, it always matters to you कि आपकी financials company के कैसे affect हो रहे हैं. Because of the cost component is your profit margin is reducing, or you have to take more loan. If you have to take more loan, then at what rate of interest you will be getting loan, how much time it will take to repay the loan amount. So cost is always expressed in financial terms. Okay, so that is how you should differentiate. So अगर आपका objective आता है तो immediately you should be able to click. So physical production is always from the physical aspects and cost is always from the financial aspects. And reason you know why so. Then you are going to be future chartered accountants. Okay, so future chartered accountants or those who work in the field of accounts or those who deal with books of the companies, financials देखते हैं. What do they? So what is important is that you, in accounts, you mention each and every component of expenses, isn't it? जो भी आपका cash inflow है, outflow है, आप उसको mention करते हैं books में. Yes. So this is how you mention. So this is about cash outflow. In accounting cost, what is accounting cost? Cash outflow or the outflow of funds. So for example, the entrepreneur pays wages or salaries to employees. So you are running one organization and you have 100 people working in your organization and there are 3 categories of people working in the organization. One are of A category, other of B category, and third are of C category, not in terms of any other parameter, but in terms of work profile. So those who do manual work, those who do a little bit of technical work, and those who are core technical experts. So the technical experts हैं उनकी salary ज़्यादा होगी as compared to those who are doing manual work. So you have to give them salary, isn't it? So you give salary as the entrepreneur of the organization who has started that venture. वो आपकी cost होगी, वो आपकी books में expenses में आएगा. So that is accounting cost. Then you buy raw material for production of your goods and services. So you have to buy, suppose you are producing cotton clothes. So you have to buy cotton, you have to refine that cotton to yarn, isn't it? So उसके लिए एक machine आपने लिया, उसपे कुछ उसका जो अगर आपने rent पे लिया तो rent building अगर rent पे लिया है, so then you have to pay rent for the building. If you have taken loan for that machine, then the interest on that machine is also cash outflow. So these are all accounting cost component. So accounting cost is basically explicit cost. Explicit cost means जो आपकी books में reflect होती है, that reflects in your book, because there is financial transaction, and that will always be reported because you are making payments, okay, and the charges made by suppliers to the factors of production. किसी भी factor को, चाहे वो rentals हो, चाहे वो interest payments हो, salary, any other factor. So when you pay to the factors of production exclusively, then it is known as explicit cost. And it is always recorded in terms of financial statements of the firm. So you know about financial statement. In financial statement, you know how to enter in the books. So you know जो भी आपके expenses होते हैं, वो आप कैसे reflect करते हैं in terms of numbers, isn't it? So it is always a financial statement of the accounting cost. Now, in economics, we also talk about economic cost. So as an accountant, we'll talk about accounting cost. कितना sales है, कितनी cost है, कितना revenue है, and how much is the profit, how much is the loss. But in economics, we also take care about implicit cost. What is implicit cost? Implicit cost basically means, for example, I say that you are running your organization, and this organization, rather than buying land on rent, you are using your own land. So आपके पास property थी, आपने उसमें business शुरू कर दिया, and then you say कि मेरा तो cost कम हो गया because I am using my own land. So ये books में कहीं आएगा भी नहीं, because this is not reflected as cash outflow, any kind of cash outflow. So it will not be reflected in your financial statements. So, but it's a cost. How is it cost? Because the land which you are using for your business, if this land you would have given on rent, and the rent per month you would have got 50,000 rupees. So that rent you are not getting now because you are using your own land. So since you are foregoing that land, rentals which you're getting is the cost, and this cost is known as implicit cost, or the opportunity cost basically. So this is implicit cost which a firm may incur. Another example of implicit cost can be, for example, I say that you are working in your own organization, and you feel that I have saved my money by not hiring someone who can advise the company, and since I am rendering services by my own, so there's no cost incurred. And when you calculate your profit, what do? You do not calculate. You calculate your profit based on that how much expenses you have incurred, how much revenue you get, and you calculate. But in the cost component, you will never take care about कि आपने जो अपनी services दी है organization के लिए, if those services you would have rendered to somebody else, किसी और organization में अगर आप काम करते, then you would have got certain amount of money, salary. Now that salary you're not getting because you're working for your own organization. So this is also part of implicit cost. Okay. So the cost which you forgo as an entrepreneur for running your business is the implicit cost. जो cost आप incur करते हैं, but आप उसको count नहीं करते हैं. Reason being, that's the cost which you have, like a opportunity which you have foregone, and that is why this cost is known as implicit cost. ये present हमेशा होती है, but आपको दिखती नहीं, because you do not see that, and that is why it is not recorded in the books. Financial statement में कहीं reflect नहीं होती है. As an accountant, you will never report, but as economist, you will always take care about that. Okay, so that's the implicit cost. So the normal return on money capital, जितना भी आपने investment किया, उसपे how much return you will get is based on two components: explicit cost and implicit cost. If you simply calculate your return on investments by taking explicit cost, then you are getting wrong information. Because हो सकता है कि आप अपनी services जो अपनी organization को दे रहे हैं, your own firm where you are rendering your services, suppose, and you are saving cost of, let's say, 30,000. But if you had worked somewhere, then in that case you would have got salary of 70,000. So आपको actually अपनी books में 70,000 minus करना पड़ेगा, because वो आपकी cost है. Do not go for working somewhere else and working in your own organization. So sometimes it happens that a company through its financial statements may realize that they are gaining profit. But the moment they take care about implicit cost, then they realize that, yes, Chaitanya, implicit cost is same as opportunity cost, but sometimes opportunity cost is more subjective. Implicit cost you can still measure. आप उसको financial terms में measure कर सकते हैं, isn't it? So जो आपका loss है, ongoing loss is about implicit cost. So it's same as opportunity cost, but the difference is that in implicit cost we can always quantify. आप quantify कर सकते हैं कितना cost component. जिस मैंने आपको बताया, अगर आप अपनी services अपनी company को दे रहे हैं as a CEO of the firm, and when you calculate your expenses, you're not calculating your own value in the market. If you would have rendered your services to somebody else, they would have given you a salary of 1,60,000, 70,000 that you're not getting. अब आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि rather than you working in the organization, if you would have gone for hiring someone. So let's say that एक ऑप्शन आपके पास ये है कि आप अपनी सर्विसेज दें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को क्योंकि आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है. दूसरा ये आप किसी को हायर कर लें as competent as you or whom you can rely on and you pay salary of 30,000 or 50,000. So you hire somebody, you give salary of 50,000 and you work somewhere else where you can get 90,000. So the difference is nowhere recorded, no? So that is why implicit cost is very, very important component in economics, and it makes huge difference for the firm's profitability also. So इसीलिए आपके लिए important है कि आप समझें as accountant that implicit cost भी बहुत important component है. So despite being you becoming a seasoned accountant, you should also know about the component of implicit cost, okay? To see the company, how the company is performing, how well the firm is performing. So implicit cost बहुत important है firm के लिए to make decisions, okay? So wages and salary not paid to the owner. I've already explained you what is implicit cost. So what is the core difference between accounting cost and economic cost? So what is economic cost? Economic cost includes both. This economic cost will include both explicit cost plus implicit cost. Okay, so it will include both explicit cost as well as implicit cost. But accounting cost में क्या होगा? आप केवल explicit cost लेंगे. और ये explicit cost कहाँ reflect होती है? ये आपके financial statements में reflect होती है. This implicit cost is not reflected in financial statements. Because आप realize नहीं करते इसको. This you never take into account. Normally firms, they do not take into account. So accounting cost is what? Explicit cost. जो आपकी पॉकेट से जा रहा है, डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट एनी फॉर्म यू आर पेइंग इज द आउट ऑफ पॉकेट एक्सपेंसेस इज एक्सप्लिसिट कॉस्ट. एक्चुअल कॉस्ट दैट अ बिजनेस इनकर, जैसे कि आप सैलरी दे रहे हैं, प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट है आपकी, मार्केटिंग कॉस्ट है, these are all reflected in your financial statements. So these are all components of explicit cost. Okay, आप इसके लेजर में, अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर में हमेशा upload करेंगे. You will always mention these components in your books. So that is accounting cost. And economic cost is this accounting cost plus implicit cost. What is implicit? So it includes accounting cost plus implicit cost. So implicit costs, which are the more of like a cost often used to compare different. Economic cost helps to make decisions. So, for example, if a city decides to buy new police cars instead of building new pantry, so they have to see कि अगर हम नई पुलिस कार्स खरीदे या एक हम eating facility create करें. So, should we go for this or should we go for this? So, what is the cost involved? If we go for more cars or should we go for this? So, will the convenience of policemen will be more effective, or the food they get on time will be more effective? So that is what is taken care. ये explicit cost में कहीं नहीं आएगा. जब तक आप cost incur नहीं कर देंगे पुलिस कार्स पे, तब तक वो यहाँ reflect नहीं करेगा. So that's the beauty of implicit cost. Implicit cost is which you can analyze, and then you can make your decisions if you know the concept of implicit cost. Otherwise, you will simply rely on explicit costs and you may incur loss in future. So accounting cost can be used to determine business total expenses, and it helps you to deduct from the like total expenses from the revenue you get, and then you help calculate profit. ये आपका gross profit होता है जो कि केवल explicit cost से आप calculate करते हैं. Economic profit में you will always take care about explicit plus implicit cost. Okay, सब आप जब दोनों cost components आप लेंगे साथ में, तब वो क्या होगा, तब आप calculate करेंगे economic cost. And from this economic cost, if you minus this economic cost from your total revenue, that gives you economic profit, which is a profit which is inclusive of deducting after deducting all explicit and implicit costs. Okay, so profit हमेशा, economic profit हमेशा आप calculate कैसे करेंगे, जब आप explicit और implicit cost दोनों को लेंगे, that becomes the economic cost. अगर केवल आप explicit cost लेंगे, then it is only accounting cost. Okay. So, for example, we see in this case, for example, this girl Sanjukta sells samosas in the building, and so she's running this samosa shop, and she's selling samosas, and these samosas she's selling for, let's say that every month she's selling 5,000 samosas at rupees 10. So how much? 50,000 she's getting. Revenues का हो गया 50,000. 5,000 का samosa 10 rupees पे बेच रही है. So that is about, okay, at rupees every, and she spends rupees 4. And what is her cost? Cost incurred is 4 rupees. 4 5s are 20,000. So her cost is 20,000. Her revenue is 50,000. आप कहेंगे 30,000 का उसको profit हो गया. Yes. So 30,000. Apart from that, she's incurring other expenses also. So for 4 rupees for samosa, she's in procuring raw material. So 4 rupees she's giving for samosa, per samosa for raw material. That means 20,000 उसका हो गया raw material के cost. She pays rupees 5,000 per month to Ramesh and Suresh for their salary. So that means 10,000 rupees she's giving as salary. So 20,000 plus 10,000, 30,000. Her other miscellaneous expenses are 1,000. So that means 31,000. Okay. And she works full time in the restaurant. So she's paying how much? She's paying 31,000, and then she's getting 50,000. And she works full time in the restaurant. So accounting profit क्या होगा इसमें? Accounting profit will be 50,000 minus all its explicit expenses जो books में आ रहे हैं. So raw material का cost book में आएगा, आपकी accounting book में आएगा. Then salary will be in your accounting book to Ramesh and Suresh. And similarly, expenses incurred per month for maybe for food, maybe for travel, anything else. So 1,000 rupees per month. So all these will be included, and this will lead to all expenses. And these expenses जब आप revenue में से minus करेंगे, तो आपको क्या मिलेगा? Accounting profit. इसमें कहीं भी हमने implicit cost की बात नहीं करी है. Okay, so in this case, there is no economic profit we are talking about. Economics cost is more precise than account. Absolutely, absolutely. So economic profit. अभी हमने क्या बात की? Accounting profit. Accounting profit में आपने क्या किया? आपने total revenue calculate कर लिया. Samosas, how many samosas? Samosa she's selling is 5,000 samosa, 10 rupees का each, 50,000 उसकी revenue हो गया. And the cost components are all given to you. Minus कर दीजिए cost. ये क्या होगा आपका accounting profit, because इसमें हमने implicit cost नहीं लिया. We have not taken implicit cost because she's working full time in the restaurant. Okay, so this we have not taken into consideration. Now, economic profit, when we talk about economic profit में आप explicit cost भी लेंगे और implicit cost भी लेंगे. So the rent of the building foregone is 10,000 per month. Means she's using her own building. So if you are using your own building, and if you would have given on rent, how much rent you would have got? She would have got rent of 10,000 per month. So ये rent forego कर रही है. So that means 10,000 rupees उसकी क्या होगी? Implicit cost. Secondly, income from working somewhere else. So if she would have worked somewhere else rather than renting services to her business, अगर कहीं वो और काम करती है, तो then in that case she would have got salary of rupees 12,000 which she's foregoing. So अब आप इसको add कर दीजिए अपनी accounting cost में. Accounting cost में 22,000 और ऐड कर दीजिए. So 10,000 plus 12,000 is 22,000. So you add that and then you calculate economic profit. तब आपको पता चलेगा the firm is not enjoying economic profit. In fact, it may be incurring loss. So it's very important to take care about implicit cost before you calculate the final profit for the organization. Though it is not reflected in your books. आपके financial statement में नहीं आएगा ये, but आपके लिए important है for the company's sustainability and long-term sustainability of the firm. Okay, so that's very, very important. So if I say that if the owner of a business pays himself no salary, then the cost is zero, accounting cost is zero, but the economic cost is positive. Is it right? The statement is right or wrong? If the owner of a business pays himself no salary, then the accounting cost is zero, but the economic cost is positive. Yes, because इसमें अगर आप अपनी सर्विसेज रेंडर कर रहे हैं, बुक्स में तो कहीं आएगा नहीं. That means accounting cost is zero. But what about the economic cost? Economic cost will be positive. Reason being, if rather than rendering your services, if you would have worked somewhere else, आपको सैलरी जो मिलती वो आप सैक्रिफाइस कर रहे हैं. So that salary amount will be your implicit cost. Okay. So I hope explicit cost and implicit cost is clear. आपको questions आ सकते हैं implicit cost और explicit cost के कुछ statements दे दें, and then they tell you that whether this is explicit or implicit cost, whether it is accounting profit or economic profit. So you should know these terminologies very thoroughly. Okay. Then the cost, like we had shared about the cost analysis, क्या होता है? Cost analysis क्यों important है? Why cost analysis is important? Then we had shared cost function. Cost function is basically the cost incurred by is a function of price of factors of production. जो भी factors of production की price होगी, उसके accordingly आप कितना factors deploy करेंगे, accordingly you pay the cost with a given technology. So at a definite period of time with a given technology, what its cost function is the function which depicts the relationship between the total cost incurred with respect to the production. Okay, whatever goods you produce and the price of factors of production. कितने goods आपने produce किए, कितना quantum of good आपने produce किया, उसको produce करने के लिए कितना labor लगा, कितना capital लगा, what is the price and all those components. So that is the cost function. Okay. Then we'll talk about direct and traceable cost. So these are two terms which I use interchangeably. Direct and traceable cost. जिस cost को आप monitor कर सकते हैं, जिस cost को आप directly explicitly देख सकते हैं, that is a direct cost. So direct cost is basically can be easily traced to a specific product. कुछ भी आप production करते हैं, उसके लिए क्या होगा, उस product के लिए एक specific design के लिए आपने R&D किया. So R&D की cost, research and development cost. Then you go for experimenting that a product will be like good for my consumers or not. जब आप उसको experiment करते हैं, जो experiment की cost आपकी हो रही है, that is also direct cost. So the labor cost, the material cost, the manufacturing, the wages you pay to the production firm, the factors of production is all your direct cost. जो आपको explicitly दिखती है, that cost is a direct cost. Okay. And so direct costs are often charged to the production on an item by item basis. जैसे कि suppose Tata is producing registers also. Tata is producing classmate registers. Tata के हैं. So Tata is producing classmate registers also. Tata is ITC. Tata is also taking care about ITC. For example, Tata is also taking care about salt. So salt and other products which are produced by Tata. So each product, they'll go for analyzing that how much is the cost incurred for product wise basis also. Product wise basis को आप segregate कर सकते हैं cost को. That is a direct cost and helps to analyze, to help you to reduce the cost. आप उसमें देखेंगे किस product की cost higher है और उससे कितना revenue generate हो रहा है and how much revenue is generated through that product. What is the cost incurred for that product? If you feel like that the cost is escalating, then the revenue. तब आप सोचेंगे कि उसके resources कहीं दूसरे में deploy कर दें ताकि production भी बढ़ जाए और आपकी cost भी relatively कम हो जाए. So that is another way of using direct cost or the traceable cost component or the concept in decision making, business decision making. Indirect cost क्या होती है? Basically, cost which is overhead cost. Overhead cost cannot be directly related to the production, but it can be the cost over and above. So the प्रोडक्शन लाइन में जितना भी अगर आप एक कार बना रहे हैं जो भी प्रोडक्शन लाइन में आपकी कॉस्ट इनकर हुई दैट इज अ डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट isn't it for example you say that for the production of the car you have to go for some pamphlets and these pamphlets will be distributed to people to make them understand that we are coming out with the new features in our car. So that is how, or you spread the word of mouth through social media and others. You incur some cost from. This is a cost which is not directly related to the production, but it helps you to enhance the sales of your product. That is indirect cost. जो directly production से related to नहीं है cost, but definitely help करती है to enhance the sales of your product or to further. So that is indirect cost. Okay, so indirect cost can be in any form. Just आपने देखा है in today's world, companies which want to have more presence on social media, what do? They go for pay per click. So they pay to the people, they pay to the people those who are sponsors कि आप हमारी वेबसाइट को और ज्यादा prominently display होना चाहिए number 1 or number 2. So they go for paying it. But it's not direct cost. It is a cost which is incurred by you to enhance your presence ताकि आपकी साइट को सब देखें. Okay, so your core objective is to make people reach to your site. So उस साइट को बनाने में जो भी आपकी कॉस्ट इनकर्ड हुई that is a direct cost. Okay, जो आपने उसको इम्प्रोवाइज किया साइट को that is all direct cost. Indirect cost is that you spend some time with people, make them understand that see this is our website. अगर आप इसमें visit करेंगे तो you will be learning about so many things. So this is indirect cost. Indirect cost is not directly related to production, but it enhances the presence or the sales of that product, or you may generate more revenue because of the indirect cost you incur. Okay. So आपने training किया, training and skill development of people. So that would be indirect cost. Indirect cost because आपने training दिया. Now this training is going to help in the production process. But directly उसका production में कोई role नहीं है. Those people who are trained, they will be using those concepts for the production process. So indirect cost. So that's the difference between direct cost and indirect cost. Then incremental and sunk cost. Incremental and sunk cost is that incremental cost is a concept of marginal cost to be. But marginal, अगर याद करेंगे, marginal is for additional unit, isn't it? Incremental is for the business decision making, because of which the cost increases. Additional cost a firm incurs by taking some business decision. For example, I say that LED bulbs. Okay, so when LED bulbs, they decided to produce LED bulbs, so they decided that we should go for producing bulbs which should reduce carbon emission, pollution कम होना चाहिए और electricity save होनी चाहिए. So we'll go for some innovative technology which will help us to produce bulbs which will be more illuminating, बहुत जिससे light increase होगी, but electricity consumption कम होगा और इसका adverse impact भी कम होगा. So if you look for that and then you design, so what are you doing? You have incurred cost on LED bulbs so that you can make a eco-friendly bulbs and which can help to reduce the electricity consumption also. Incremental cost. So this is incremental cost because you are incurring this cost. आपने एक business decision लिया जिसकी वजह से आपकी production line में change हो गया over the period of time. This incremental cost. Okay. Then change in production line. Then you have replacement of whole machinery. So you are using some machines and equipments, and then suppose you are Domino's pizza maker. Okay. So you are Domino's pizza maker outlet, and you realize that जो हमारी machine है जो pizza बना रही है, that machine has become obsolete today. We should go for replacing it. So the machine gets replaced. That's also incremental cost. Okay. And if you feel like that this machine, so that's a direct cost also. But this machine which you're using, you feel like इस machine में कुछ add-on features add कर देते हैं. If you can go for adding some softwares which can help us to perform better. So that will be adding some additional features will be also be incremental cost because वो सारा production line change करेगा ना. अगर आपने एक बार कुछ machine में change कर दिया, सारा production line उससे change रहेगा. आपका overall production will change. Scale of production will change. or the efficiency of production will change. Okay, so that's about incremental cost. अगर suppose नए market में आपने enter करने का decision लिया, you decide to acquire new firm, you want to enter in partnership with the other firm, उसके लिए जो भी आपकी cost होगी, that will be incremental cost because it's the business decision you have taken to expand your business, and that is the incremental cost. Okay, so that is incremental cost. Sunk cost. Sunk cost. What is sunk cost? The cost which is incurred once, which you cannot recover. एक बार आपने वो cost कर दी incur, आप उसको recover नहीं कर सकते. That is your sunk cost, which cannot be recovered at any cost. That is sunk cost. Cost incur होगी. अब आप उसको benefit आपको मिल रहा है उसका, well and good. If you are not getting, then you cannot recover it. That's the sunk cost. Okay. So suppose you go for, you are promoting, suppose you are making chips. Okay. So you're making chips and you realize that इस chips के लिए promotion के लिए हमको एक अच्छा सा brand ambassador चाहिए. So you decide about that, we'll go for a brand ambassador's XYZ. And you realize that after taking this brand ambassador, paying X amount of money to that brand ambassador for advertising your product, आपको लगता है मेरी sales नहीं बढ़ी. But जो पैसा आपने उसको दे दिया to the brand ambassador, that you cannot recover, that's your sunk cost. So once it is incurred, you cannot overcome. That's your sunk cost. Suppose you thought that आप suppose shampoo बना रहे हैं and you are a shampoo manufacturing firm and you realize कि जो हमारी shampoo की bottles हैं, we want to make it more attractive for our consumers. So you have spent R&D, you have done investments in R&D to design the shape of the bottle or the color of the bottle. And once you launch in the market, लोगों को पसंद नहीं आया. People do not accept it. The cost which you have incurred on R&D to design that bottle is a sunk cost, जो आप कभी recover नहीं कर पाते. Until unless you renovate or innovate on the existing product, या कुछ आप innovation कीजिए, या फिर आप भूल जाइए. So that is sunk cost. Okay, so difference between incremental cost and sunk cost is clearly. So is sunk cost sometimes sunk cost becomes so high or like huge, and because of some decisions a firm might have taken, and that is why it creates entry barriers. दूसरी firms उस business में आने के लिए सोचेंगी कि इसमें sunk cost high है और we should not enter in this sector. So it can create barriers for entry into that business, sunk cost. Okay. Then historical and replacement cost. What is historical and replacement cost? Historical cost, जैसे आप accounts में पढ़ते हैं ना, historical cost. So historical cost is the cost जो suppose you started your company in 2018. Today we are in 24. 18 में जो आपने कंपनी स्टार्ट की, उस कंपनी में जब आपने लैंड लिया, तो वो लैंड की जो कॉस्ट उस समय थी, वो आपने अपनी बुक्स में लिख दी. That is your historical cost. Okay, so in 2018, whatever price you might have paid for that land to start your business will be your historical cost. Okay, so वो कॉस्ट आज मार्केट में हो सकता है वो उस प्लॉट की वैल्यू बहुत हाई हो, बट आपकी बुक्स में वो हिस्टोरिकल कॉस्ट में रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है जब आपने वो प्रॉपर्टी, आपने जब वो लैंड खरीदा था. So that's about historical cost. Okay, so replacement cost. What is replacement cost? Replacement cost is that I'm a pizza company and I'm using machine which I feel has become obsolete. ये machine जो है अब किसी काम की नहीं है, and I'll go for replacing it. So what I'll do, अभी तो चल रही है, but I can't rely on this. I want to buy a new machine which is an upgraded version of the existing one. जो अभी machine है उससे better version मुझे चाहिए machine का, so that I can become more sustainable. So what will you do? You will replace that machine with the new one. Okay, so you'll replace with the new one. That becomes the replacement cost. So replacement cost will make, so other things remaining the same, and increase in the production will make replacement cost higher. जैसे आप production बढ़ाते जाएंगे, so better production technology, you have better resources, you go for more aggressive marketing, उससे क्या होगा कि रिप्लेसमेंट कॉस्ट आपकी बढ़ती जाएगी एज कम्पेयर टू हिस्टोरिकल कॉस्ट। जैसे जैसे आपका आप you move more towards from 80s to 90s to 2000 and so on and so on, आप देखेंगे कि रिप्लेसमेंट कॉस्ट बढ़ती ही जा रही है पूरी पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. Old assets, if you go for replacing old assets, because the old asset value, historical cost was very low in the past. And today, because of the land scarcity, enough land है नहीं आपके पास, इसलिए land का prices बढ़ता जा रहा है. So that means to go for replacement cost will be very, very high in today's context as compared to in the past. Private and social cost, that's very important. Private and social cost. Private cost क्या होगी? Private cost is a cost which is incurred by the firm. So, for example, I say that आपने अपनी कंपनी में एक एक ऐसी मशीन लगाई जिससे कि pollution कम हो रहा है, and that is more green in nature. So, ये machine is more eco-friendly, and because of that, what has happened? आपकी थोड़ी cost बढ़ गई because आपने एक environment friendly machine use किया. So, your cost goes up. That is your private cost. This cost you incur because you have purchased the machine which is more eco-friendly, and that is why you have incurred cost. That is explicit cost. आपने वो machine ली और उसकी वजह से आपने एक environment friendly machine की जिसकी cost higher है. So that means it's a private cost incurred to you, which can be more explicit or it can be implicit also. Implicit can be, we have shared implicit private cost. Okay, I'm the CEO of the company and I devote more time for my company. Prior, I was devoting only 6 hours. Now I have started devoting 8 hours, 9 hours. That means implicit cost component will be there. Okay, so that is all private cost. But वो मेरी company का है, मेरा है. So that is all private cost. What is social cost? Social cost is something. It's the cost which is passed on. So I'm a firm. I'm producing coal. Okay, and this firm is established close to the river. And the byproducts of coal are all disposed of in this river. So my industry is, this is my firm, which is producing coal, and we have this unit close to the river bank. नदी के किनारे हमारा ये firm है, और जो भी इसके byproducts होते हैं वो सब हम नदी में डालते हैं. We dispose of in river. So what's going to happen because of that? Those people who will drink this water or who will go for fishing from this water, taking for their food and everything, they will have some problem, some health issues. They'll have some health issues because this water is of having is contaminated because the coal byproducts disposed of in this. इसकी जो byproducts है कोल की वो रिवर में डिस्पोज ऑफ कर दिया आपने, जिसकी वजह से रिवर पोल्यूटेड हो गया, और जिन लोगों ने ये पानी पिया उनको कुछ हेल्थ इश्यूज हो गए, या जिन्होंने इसमें से कुछ भी fish and everything they have taken, aquarium products, if they go for taking it out, then in that case it will affect their health. ये जो हेल्थ पे इम्पैक्ट पड़ा है, ये जो रिवर पे इम्पैक्ट पड़ा है इस फर्म का, that is social cost, which is not directly on the firm, but on any of the stakeholders, maybe river, maybe the surrounding plants, maybe consumers, people, anyone. So that's about the social cost. The social cost, on the other hand, is, which cost is it? It is the cost borne by the society on account of business activity. So whatever business units are doing, and because of that, society gets impacted, is known as social cost. It can be private cost, and it includes private cost and external cost, both ways. So the cost can be both ways. So for example, people using polythene bags. Okay, so companies which are delivering products at your doorstep, e-commerce firms जो है आपके doorstep पे product deliver करती हैं, and they go for packing. These packaging are done in plastic bags polythene bags. And these polythene bags, when you dispose of on earth, in the earth crust, जब आप इसको फेंक देते हैं, after use those polythene bags, these polythene bags are going to stay in earth, the earth, like not less than 100 to 500 years. And because of that, what's going to happen? The quality of soil will decrease. So this is the social cost. Social cost, जो पैकेजिंग इंडस्ट्री के फर्म्स हैं या जो ई कॉमर्स के फर्म्स हैं, उनकी प्राइवेट कॉस्ट नहीं है. This is the social cost incurred on society because of usage of these plastic bags, which can have adverse impact on people life, animal life, equitarian life, and other components, environment, which can adversely affect. The social cost is very important to realize. This cost is you produce, and because of your production, I'm getting impacted. It is social cost. आपकी production का society पे क्या impact पड़ रहा है? That is social cost. Okay. So social cost is very important to make you understand कि किसी भी firm के लिए to become sustainable and to become long-term, reliable and valid, you always have to work on your external costs. Private cost के लिए तो सभी काम करते हैं to reduce their private cost of the firm's private cost, because end of the day you are looking for profit. और जब आपकी private cost कम होगी तो definitely you'll become more profitable. But companies have to work on more of external costs, because external cost can adversely affect your business in the long term. So external cost is very, very important concept to understand with respect to the social cost. Then fixed cost and variable cost. What is fixed cost and variable cost? So fixed cost is the cost. For example, I say that you buy a machine, and this machine you will install in your factory, and then you come to know about that the factory papers are like disputed, and that is why you are not able to operate that machine. Okay, so you have the land, आपके पास वो land है जिसमें कि एक machine आपने install किया है to produce some good, but before you start the production of that good, you have come to know कि ये जो land है ये disputed land है जिसमें हमने machine रखी है और जिसमें हम production start करना चाहते हैं. So that land and machine, which is very much there, and you have incurred cost, but आपका production अभी शुरू भी नहीं हुआ. And if you will start producing more, then also this land and machine will be sufficing. So that means this land and machine cost is not going to change with the production. जितना ज़्यादा production करेंगे उसके हिसाब से cost बढ़ेगी नहीं. So this is known as fixed cost. Okay. So fixed cost is not a function of output. Please do remember, fixed cost is not a function of output. That means what? Fixed cost, output पे depend नहीं करता. It's not dependent on output. Output increases doesn't mean that the fixed cost will also increase. Okay, and they do not vary output into certain level of activity. Yeah, output को impact भी नहीं करती है fixed cost. Okay, these costs require a fixed expenditure on this, irrespective of the level of output. जब आपने एक land लिया, उस पे आपको rent देना है, so whether we produce or not, rent will be incurred. Since you have taken that property, you are liable to pay property tax. अब चाहे वो land vacant रहे, you are not going to use that land, but still you have to pay property tax. So this is the fixed cost, which is no way related to output or production process. Okay, so this is the fixed cost component. And you know that fixed costs vary with the size of the plant and the function of the capacity of the firm. So as the firm becomes becomes larger and larger, then what will happen? जितनी बड़ी firm होगी, उतना ज़्यादा absolutely chaitanya social cost stable, and it's really sad. So the size of the firm decides about fixed cost. Okay, so when we talk about fixed cost, if the firm is huge, एक बहुत बड़ी firm है, उसकी fixed cost उतनी ज़्यादा होगी because they will be they will be working on scale. And once they work on scale, they require more land, they require sophisticated machines, they require skilled people. Yes. So once you have land which is of huge size and you incur costs, so this is the fixed cost. में आपको याद रखना है कि ये output से related है fixed cost. And if the output level increases, fixed cost is not going to change. Okay. So with the volume of output within the capacity, a given capacity में fixed cost नहीं change होगी. अगर आप technology बदल देंगे, if you go for changing the technology, then in that case, this will change. Okay, so new technology, then you have to go for buying this technology. That means you incur more cost. Okay, so fixed cost cannot be avoided. You have to have land, you have to have machine, you have to take loan for your business. If you are not taking loan, then you are deploying your own funds. So fixed cost will always be there before the production starts. And it will remain. It will remain till the production is within the capacity limit. So as long as production is within the capacity limit, fixed cost will always be there. Okay. So fixed costs can be avoided only when the operations are completely closed down. जब आपने production ही stop कर दिया, then what will happen? If you can go for selling the machine, you will get certain amount of money, and that will able to wind up your unit. So fixed costs will be there till the time there is a probability of production. जब तक एक production की probability होगी, तब तक fixed cost रहेगी. जब आपने decide कर लिया, you want to completely close this unit, then the fixed cost component won't be there. Okay. So it is, you cannot go for controlling it. Fixed costs you cannot control. But there are some costs which will continue even after the operations are suspended. For example, storing of old machines which cannot be sold in the market. आपने एक machine ले ली, sophisticated machine, and you thought to start that business. उसके लिए आपने land में वो machine rakhi, and you started production, and that machine didn't give you benefit. Reason being, उसकी वजह से जो production था, that was at a lower pace and cost was high, and the other competitor in the market was selling the same product at a low price. So आपका product market में बिका नहीं. आपने एक sophisticated machine ले ली, उसकी cost आपने incur कर ली, and you incurred loss, and now you want to wind up your unit. आप उसको business को बंद करना चाहते हैं. But the problem is that this machine which you have, जो आपके पास है, उसको dispose of भी तो करना होगा market में. So till the time you are not able to sell that machine in the market, तब तक वो cost आपके ऊपर रहेगी. That cost you will be having on your head to overcome that cost. Okay. So till the time you are not able to, when you decide about that this firm cannot remain in existence, कुछ भी हो हमको इसको business को बंद करना है, then it is known as shutdown cost. Okay, so shutdown cost is the cost which you incur when you decide to wind up your unit and close the business. That's about the shutdown cost. So fixed cost is a discretionary choice of management. आपके CEOs, team leaders will decide about, we want to go for this technology. अगर वो मना कर देंगे तो नहीं हो सकता. We'll go for new machines. We'll go for new office. We will renovate the existing office. We'll make our office more lavish. These are decisions taken by whom? By management and the team. And that is why this is their discretionary choice, whether to opt for increasing the fixed cost or not to increase the fixed cost. So this is the graph of the fixed cost. You can see here, this is the fixed cost graph. The output is increasing from X, from 1, 2, 3, whatever number you give over here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Since you are increasing the production here, let's say this fixed cost is 50,000. Now you produce 10 units of good, 20 units of good, 30 units of good, 40 units of good, 50 or 60, whatever may be your level of production. your cost will remain same. Total fixed cost remain 50,000 only. This will be maybe this business, what we are talking about is of 2 years life cycle. So every 2 year you have to go for new machines, new equipments, and then the fixed cost will also change after 2 years. So this is the example of fixed cost. And now we'll take break of 10 minutes and then we'll go for sharing further. Okay, so Chaitanya had query is overhead are included in fixed cost. See, overhead expenses are not part of fixed costs because fixed cost is the cost which is incurred irrespective of production takes place or not. Overhead will increase when you go for production. So you can see here at zero level of output also the fixed cost is 50,000. So this cannot include overhead cost. So fixed cost will be exclusive from the overhead cost. Okay. So insurance fees, like insurance fee you pay, no? So insurance fee you pay and you paid for risk mitigation. आप अपनी risk को minimize करना चाहते हैं इसीलिए आप insurance fee देते हैं. But that fee is there irrespective of claim है या नहीं होगा. तो fees तो आपको देनी ही पड़ेगी. That is a fixed cost. Okay. So irrespective of the claim, you have to pay X amount of insurance fee. Okay. So the rent which you have to pay. So you have purchased, you have taken a building on rent to start your business. और कुछ problems आ गई आप business start नहीं कर पा रहे. But since you have taken that building on rent, you have to pay the rent. So that rent is a component of fixed cost. Till the time you start producing and you start selling the good in the market, तब तक तो आपके लिए fixed cost रहेगी. Okay, so this is how the fixed cost component is. Then variable cost. So you have fixed cost, you will have some variable cost. Now, if you look at the graph here, you can see the variable cost. When the output is zero, variable cost is zero. Just as the output बढ़ता जा रहा है, as the output is increasing, the variable cost is increasing. So variable cost increases with increase in output. And what is the difference between fixed cost and variable cost? Variable cost is zero at zero level of output, but fixed cost is always there even at zero level of output. So if we have to make the fixed cost will be somewhere here. But the variable cost will start from the zero. जब आप कुछ प्रोड्यूस ही नहीं कर रहे हैं तो आपको रॉ मटेरियल नहीं चाहिए. So raw material will be variable cost. If you are not promoting any product of yours, जब आपने प्रोड्यूस ही नहीं किया, उसको मार्केट में लाए नहीं, उसको आपने उसको सेल नहीं करना चाहते, or you are not in a position to sell that product, how can it be the cost for you? Isn't it? So variable cost will be incurring as you start the production. जैसे आप प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाते जाएंगे उस केस में आपकी efficiency of production will decrease, and this is what it will make more steeper here. Okay, so the variable cost is the cost which changes with the change in output, जबकि fixed cost output के साथ change नहीं हो. That is why it is parallel to x-axis. Okay, so the variable cost includes wages of casual workers. So casual workers, when will you have casual workers working for your organization? Contract पे आप लोग कब लेंगे अपनी organization में? When you have some business in hand. No business, so these contract workers will not be required. So आप उनको hire नहीं करेंगे. So these contract workers are what? They are variable cost component for your firm. Raw material. If you start producing something, then you require raw material. So that would be raw material for the production, for packaging, for and the transportation of the good from place A to B, from factory to manufacturing unit, from manufacturing unit to the packaging sector, packaging firm to the final, to the distributors and then retailers and so on. So वो transportation cost जितना ज़्यादा आपका production होगा, उतनी बार trucks जाएंगे, उतनी बार उसका expense होगा. So that is all cost which is incurred, variable cost. No production, no cost. As the production increases or the output increases, the cost goes up. Okay. So if a firm shuts down for a short period of time, then in that case, they will not be using its raw material or the basic variable cost, but the fixed cost will always be there. Okay. So this is how. So this is a complete variable cost. That means zero output, zero cost. That's a complete variable cost, which you can see here. From zero level of output, we have zero cost. And as the production increases, the variable cost increases. So this is the cost which we understand with respect to the time period, short term and the long term. In short term, you can go for certain component as fixed cost. Okay, we will be sharing that. Then there can be probability of semi-variable cost. Semi-variable cost is variable cost. It's a variable cost, but there's a component of some fixed cost. and over and above is the variable cost. For example, I say that you hire someone at a fixed cost. Okay, so you hire a trainee at a fixed cost, and now you go for new machines and equipments, and this person whom you hire is not having that kind of skill to work on that machine. So आप क्या करेंगे? You will help that person, you will make that person to go for learning new skill. And it's a team of people, those who are working for you, you will be training them. Okay, so the semi-variable cost component, जो कि आपने एक complete variable cost component, what is complete variable cost component? It starts from zero. So it starts from zero and it goes like this. This variable cost. This we have shared in the last slide. This semi-variable cost you can see here is starting from this point. That means there has to be some fixed cost. And then the variable cost will increase. Then the variable cost component will increase. Okay, so this is the semi-variable cost component, semi-variable cost component, which has a component of fixed cost, some component of fixed cost, and then it increases over the period of time. So आपको difference याद रखना है semi-variable cost and complete variable cost में. Complete variable cost will start from zero. No production, no cost incurred. And as you produce, the cost goes up. That is a complete variable cost. But practical scenario may be possible that you have to incur some fixed cost. And then, so for example, I say that for the production of designer clothes के लिए एक basic cloth आपके पास होना चाहिए. And then on that cloth, you can make that cloth into any beautiful cloth by designing it, embroidery, or any form you can go for converting it into. So there is some fixed cost, that is the cloth which you have purchased, the bulk of cloth you have purchased, and the way you transform it over the period of time. With respect to that, the variable cost will increase. उसमें आप कुछ embroidery करेंगे, कुछ और components add करेंगे, so it will keep on increasing cost on your production factor. So that's about the variable cost. Okay, so this is semi-variable cost, which is fixed for a period of time, and दो components होंगे इसमें के fixed or variable. So it is a mixed cost of fixed and variable cost component, that is the semi-variable cost. It is not the cost of machine or equipment. ये variable cost का component है, but जो initially fixed cost, like I told you about, you're producing some designer clothes, and for that clothes you need basic cloth, ना basic cloth. उस cloth को आप dye कर सकते हैं, उस cloth को आप different shapes में design कर सकते हैं, उसको आप embroidery से सुंदर बना सकते हैं, whatever you do with that. So that's add-on to the initial cloth which you have. That's the semi-variable cost component. Okay. Then you have stair step. You can see your stairs. Can you see this? These are stairs, isn't it? So these are stairs. Now this is a stair step variable cost. Stair step variable cost means what? You start from the fixed cost, यहाँ से आपने शुरू किया, and you remain here for a specific period of time. और फिर आपको realize हुआ that we have to train the workforce over here. So you suddenly escalate the cost. Okay, because you go for training of these people for a specific task. So you train these people, maybe marketing skill. And once you train these people for a marketing skill, then they go for delivering the product, and there is a fixed cost component. आपने उनको एक marketing की training दी. अब उसके बाद आपने decide किया अब हम computerization लाएंगे अपनी organization में. So you bring new technology. And you have to train them for that technology. So फिर आपकी cost बढ़ गई. So there's a specific term. There's a specific term of constant cost, and then the cost escalates. Then there's a specific term of constant cost, and then the cost escalates. Then there's a specific term of cost, and then the cost escalates. So this is the stair-step variable cost factor. So what happens? It remains fixed at certain range of output, but suddenly jumps to the new high level. Okay. So cost incurred towards the salary of foreman will have a sudden jump. Another foreman is appointed when the output crosses a particular limit. Suppose it is the normal season, and now festivals are approaching, and then in that case you need more people to work on the organization. Taaki cost बढ़ जाएगी also. And Diwali time is over, then you will have this kind of a scenario. Then there will be Christmas. After Christmas, then New Year will come, and then again the demand will increase. So this is how it works. So this is stair-step variable cost, which has a certain period of fixed cost, followed by increase in the cost, then followed by fixed cost, and then increase in cost. This particular pattern, which is followed all throughout, is known as stair-step variable cost. Okay, sudden jump. Normally, you will find this in seasonal product companies which deliver seasonal products. So seasonal product, for example, in summers you're delivering. So holy time you're delivering that those water dispenser, pichkaris and others, and then the Rakhi you go for those fans and everything. Okay, so respectively, as you change the product segment, your cost goes up in a specific period of time, but for a specific period of time, it remains same. So this is stair-step variable cost. So these are short-run cost curves. Okay, so short-run, you understand short-run. Short-run में क्या होगा? कि आपकी एक fixed cost होगी और variable cost होगी short-run. Because in short-term, it won't be possible for you to buy new machine, new equipments, and for that short period of time, आपकी fixed cost will remain same. So this you can see here, the fixed cost is 50,000. Just an assumption. Your fixed cost is 50,000 all throughout. You produce from 10 to 100 units of good, and your fixed cost remains same. That means this includes just a hypothetical figure. Let's say 25,000 आपने land का rentals दे रहे हो और 25,000 का आपका machine. So this is your fixed cost, 25,000 per machine and 25,000 for your land. So this is your fixed cost. अब एक machine है और आपने उस land पे machine को establish किया है. Now you can produce any number of goods. This cost will remain same, no? So that's a fixed cost. Okay. Now this is total variable cost, which you see here. This cost, which you see here. This cost. Can you see this cost? So this cost, which is there, is a variable cost. Total variable cost. And it's starting from 0. And then why this is like this? Why the shape of the curve is like this? And then it increases here. Why is it so? It is because of the returns to factor. We have shared returns to factor. If you can recap, in production process, we have shared returns to factor. When the marginal productivity increases, that means the total variable cost will increase at a decreasing rate. So it will increase at decreasing rate. When the marginal product starts decreasing, okay, so what will happen? The total variable cost will start increasing at the increasing rate. So as long as your labor is more productive, what will happen if labor is productive? Your variable cost will reduce. Yes, if labor is less productive. What will happen? Your variable cost will start increasing because labor will be less productive. Means if you hire a person, one person you hire, and this one person is working for 5 hours. So if one person is working for 5 hours, and the fellow produces 100 units of good. 100 units of good. And the second person you hire is also working for 5 hours and produces only 50 units or maybe 80 units of the good. So the productivity of this A is higher or B is higher? Definitely A is higher. जब इसकी productive higher है and you are paying same salary to both, what will happen? Cost in this case will be, variable cost in this case will be less, and the variable cost in this case will be higher. And why it's so? Because here the marginal product of labor is more productive in the case of A than the marginal product of labor in the case of B. That's why this curve is like this total variable cost. Okay, so the shape of the total variable cost curve is inverse S shape because of law of returns to factor. Law of returns to factor. Increasing returns to factor, and this is diminishing returns to factor. What about this total cost? Now you see the total cost is starting from here. So when there's no production, the cost is zero. When the production starts, the total variable cost starts rising. And then it goes beyond total fixed cost. Yes. So this is how the total variable cost will respond with respect to the change in output. What about this total cost and total variable cost? So we have also shared the shape. Why this is total variable cost is S shape. Yes, like somewhat like this S shape, inverse S shape. So but this shape of the curve is because of law of returns to factor. We have shared this in production function. Returns to factor is that capital remains. So in this, capital remains fixed and labor increases. And as the proportion between the two changes, the marginal product of labor will start decreasing. So here it starts decreasing. And this cost increases at increasing rate. Okay, so that's the shape of the total variable cost. Now, what is the relationship between total variable cost and total cost? You can see this gap is constant. This gap is constant all throughout. Yes, this gap. So this gap depicts what? This gap depicts total fixed cost. And this TC is what? This TC is TFC plus TVC. And if we see this TC, TC is also TC minus TFC is equal to TVC. So this is, if you minus from TC, this TFC, you will get this TVC. Okay, so this is the relationship between TC, TFC and TVC. And this is a case of shutdown. जब भी आप fixed cost और variable cost देखेंगे, you should understand these are short-term supply curves. Reason being, there's a fixed factor, there's a variable factor, which is only true in the case of short term, but not in the long term. Reason being, you can increase, you can buy new land, you can buy new machine, you can have more salaried class people or the workers who can work full-time for you and on role of your organization. So that's the concept of short-term and short-term supply curve. So you can establish the relationship between total fixed cost, total variable cost, and total cost in this case. Number one, total cost, fixed cost will be parallel to y-axis. Reason being, this cost will be there irrespective of the level of output once you plan to start your business. For example, this may be land cost, this may be machine cost, which will be there before you start the production. And it will remain when you start the production for a short period of time. When you go for enhancing your production capacity, तब आपकी fixed cost change होगी, उसके पहले fixed cost change नहीं. Okay. And so total variable cost will start from 0. It will initially increase at decreasing rate, then it will start increasing at increasing rate. And this is because of law of returns to factor. And the total cost and total variable cost difference depicts what? That depicts the total fixed cost. So the gap between PC minus PVC is equal to total fixed cost. So this is total fixed cost between the two, total cost and total variable cost. Now, what is average fixed cost? So you already know that the fixed cost in the short term remains constant, irrespective of the output. So this is the average fixed cost. Average fixed cost is total fixed cost by output. Now, what we saw in this case, output is increasing. Yes, and the total fixed cost remains same. So total fixed cost is not increasing, but output is increasing. So what will happen in this case? This will remain constant, and this will start increasing. Output is increasing. So output is increasing, fixed cost is same. What will happen to AFC? AFC will start decreasing as output increases. Yes. So with every additional unit of output, AFC will start decreasing because average and total fixed cost remains same and output is increasing. So average fixed cost will start decreasing. Okay. If a firm is producing, so they have given example in your book also. So let's say that if the total fixed cost is 2,000 rupees and the output is 100 units. So output is 100 units. So if you substitute in this, AFC is equal to 2,000 divided by 100 units. Okay, so average fixed cost will be how much? 20 rupees. Now, if you go for increasing the output from 100 to 200, if you increase the output, so this becomes 2,000 by 200. What is the value of AFC? AFC becomes 10. So as we are increasing the output, the value of AFC starts decreasing. So it decreases. So, okay, so and what will be the shape of the AFC? So AFC will always be somewhat like this. So this is average fixed cost and this is output. So as you produce more and more, average fixed cost starts decreasing. So AFC will be like this. Okay. But AFC will never touch this x-axis. Why AFC will never touch x-axis? Because this 2,000 will always be there, isn't it? You may go for increasing this, but numerator value will always be there. And that is why this is not going to touch the x-axis. Okay. Now, these are the curves of shutdown with respect to, till now we had discussed about total fixed cost, total variable cost and total cost. Now we are talking about like, Pavan, see, just now I have shown you AFC, no? So, example, what is the formula of AFC? AFC is TFC by output. And in your book, TFC value is given 2,000. And initial output is 100. So the average fixed cost will be how much? 20. Yes. If I go for increasing the output from 100 to 200, so this is 10. So that means rupees 10. So as we are increasing the denominator, that is output, as we are moving on this from left to right, output is increasing. You can see here average fixed cost is decreasing. So average fixed cost decreases with increase in output. Here you are. And as you increase the output, average fixed cost starts decreasing. And that's why it has come over here. Okay, so this is AFC. So average fixed cost will be downward sloping. Reason being, total fixed cost will be there even at zero level of output. Number two, as output increases, when you increase the denominator and the numerator value remains same, that is why the average fixed cost will continuously keep on decreasing. But this AFC will never touch will never touch x-axis. Reason being, AFC can never be 0. So the value of AFC can never be 0. Why it can never be 0? Because TFC can never be 0. Yes, since TFC can never be 0, so numerator can never be 0, and that is why this will never touch x-axis. Okay, so remember, आप इसको डाउनवर्ड स्लोपिंग बना सकते हैं, but याद रखिए इसको x-axis से टच नहीं होना चाहिए. AFC should not touch x-axis. Okay, so once you know AFC, now what about this one? Okay, what about this one, marginal cost curve? Why marginal is like this? You can see here this marginal cost curve. Marginal cost is initially decreasing. Here it is minimum, and then it starts increasing, marginal cost. Now this marginal cost depends on what? Law of variable proportion. We have shared when you increase this output here, what happens? The marginal product of labor increases. When the marginal product of labor increases, marginal cost will decrease. So here, as you increase the output, marginal product of labor is why marginal product of labor is increasing? Underutilization of fixed factors, isn't it? So this is because of the law of variable proportion. Here, marginal cost is minimum, and then the marginal cost starts increasing. When the marginal cost will increase, when the marginal product of labor will start decreasing, marginal cost will start increasing. So marginal cost starts increasing. So remember, all cost curves will be U-shaped. All production curves will be inverse U-shaped. Okay, so cost curve will always be U-shaped, and production curves will always be inverse U-shaped. Okay, so this is input, and this is output, and this is output. This is cost. So that's the relationship, opposite relationship between the two. So the marginal cost is decreasing, then the marginal cost starts increasing. It is because of law of returns to factor. Okay, so this is because of the law of returns to factor, marginal cost. Now, you see what is the relationship between marginal cost and average cost? AFC तो आप समझ गए. Why AFC is downward sloping? What is the relation? Marginal cost is U-shaped. Why marginal cost is U-shaped? Because of law of returns to factor. As long as marginal product of labor is increasing, marginal cost will decrease. When the marginal product of labor is maximum, marginal cost will be minimum at this point. When the marginal product of labor starts decreasing, marginal cost starts increasing beyond this. Okay, so this is about marginal cost curve. This is based on law of variable proportion or returns to factor. Now talking about AC, this ABC. ABC, this one. This ABC is also U-shaped. But what is the concept of ABC here? You can see here, if we can make it. Okay. So in this case, if you see here, then this is the marginal cost. What is the relationship between marginal cost and average variable cost? if you see, यहाँ पे आप देखेंगे, you will see as long as marginal cost is less than average variable cost. ये average variable cost है and ये marginal cost. As long as marginal cost is less than average variable cost, what will happen? It will, if marginal cost is less than average variable cost, average variable cost will decrease. Yes, so average variable cost is decreasing. Okay, when the marginal cost intersects the ABC, marginal cost intersects ABC, when marginal cost is equal to ABC, then in that case, what is, if it is equal here, then what do you see? Here ABC is minimum. Okay, when marginal cost is greater than ABC, then what will happen? ABC in this case will start increasing. That's what you see here. As long as MC, this one, is less than this one, that is why this will decrease. How long it will decrease? Till the time this ABC intersects MC. And what is this point E here? At point E here, ABC is minimum, where MC is equal to ABC. Now, if you see right side of E, what do you see right side of E? This MC is greater than ABC. So since ABC is less than MC, so what will happen? ABC will start increasing. So basically, this shape of ABC is dependent on what? Margin cost. This is the relationship. If MC is less than ABC, ABC will decrease. If MC is equal to ABC, ABC will be minimum. If MC is greater than ABC, then ABC will start increasing. So shape of ABC is dependent on marginal cost. And what about ATC? ATC depends on ABC. If ABC is decreasing, ATC is also decreasing. When MC is greater than ATC, ATC also starts increasing. So this, and what about this gap here? The gap between the two depicts what? AFC. AFC. So what is AFC? So what is the relationship here between average total cost and average variable cost and the marginal cost? Marginal cost decides the shape of ABC. ABC decides the shape of ATC. Because ATC is equal to AFC plus ABC. And since AFC depends on fixed cost, so this ATC depends on average variable cost. Okay, and that is why you can see here, when the marginal cost is less than average cost will decrease. When marginal cost is equal to average cost is minimum. When marginal cost is higher than average cost starts increasing. What is true for ABC is true for ATC. So basically, marginal cost defines the shape of ABC and ATC. So this is the relationship between marginal cost and average variable cost. Okay. So what is marginal cost? We have shared that the marginal cost curve falls as output is increasing. Initially, marginal cost starts decreasing, then it starts rising after some point of time. And we have shared it happens because of the law of variable proportion. And as the marginal product starts rising, reaches the maximum, and then the marginal cost of a firm declines. When marginal product of labor will increase, marginal cost will decrease. Okay, and then when the marginal product of labor starts decreasing, marginal cost starts increasing. Okay, so this is the U shape of the marginal cost curve. What is the relationship between marginal cost and average cost? So we have already shared that the average cost is dependent on what? Marginal cost. Because average cost and marginal cost depends on what? Marginal cost depends on law of variable proportion. So what is the relationship when the average cost falls as a result of increase in output? Marginal cost is less than average cost. So we have already shared when MC is less than average cost will decrease. Okay, when average cost rises as a result of increase in output, marginal cost is more than average cost. When marginal cost is greater than average cost starts increasing. Number 2. Number 3, when MC is equal to AC, at this point, the average cost will be minimum. It's number 3. Okay, so this is the relationship between average cost and marginal cost we have seen in this graph here. You can see in this graph here. So this graph you have seen, basically ABC and ADC is dependent on marginal cost. When marginal cost is less than, to the left of E, if you see to the left of E, when marginal cost is less than average cost, average variable cost will decrease. When marginal cost is equal to average variable cost, then the average variable cost is minimum. When the marginal cost is greater than average variable cost, variable cost starts increasing. So that's the relationship between marginal and average. Okay. So relationship between marginal and average cost. Now, if you look at this table here, this table will help you to understand all the concepts of cost with respect to fixed cost, variable cost, average fixed cost, total cost, and marginal cost. Now, if you look in this table, you see here, units of output are increasing from 0 to 1, 3, 4, and so on. So output is increasing. So 1, output is increasing. Number 2, total fixed cost is constant. It's not increasing, it's same. Output is increasing, but the cost is same, 1,000. So the top cost remains, fixed cost remains same. What about total variable cost? Total variable cost is 0 at 0 level of output. And as output increases, total variable cost starts increasing. So total variable cost is 0 at 0 level of output. And it increases with increase in output. So that's about total variable cost. Okay. Total cost. What is total cost? Total cost is the sum of total fixed cost and total variable cost. You sum up these two, column 2 and 3. You will get total cost. So sum of 2 and 3 is total cost. Okay. Now, how do you calculate average fixed cost? Average fixed cost is TFC by output. TFC is how much? 1,000. Output is 0. So that's why it is not defined. 1,000 by 1 is 1,000. 1,000 by 2 is 500. 1,000 by 3 is 333 point. 1,000 by 4 is 250. 5 is 200 and so on. What do you see here? Average fixed cost is continuously decreasing. And that is why when we had made the graph, we had made AFC like this. So this is AFC by output. So AFC is downward sloping. You can see AFC is continuously decreasing because here your fixed cost is same and the output is increasing. That means numerator remains same and the denominator keeps on increasing. That's why fixed cost value is decreasing. What about average variable cost? Average variable cost is total variable cost by output. This one. So total variable cost is not defined in the first case. Second is 50, 50 by 1, 90 by 2, 140 by 3, and so on and so on. Okay. So you can get this total average variable cost by total variable cost by output. What is average total cost? Average total cost is sum of AFC plus ABC. So when you add these two, 1000 plus 50 is 1050. 500 plus 45 is 545. 333.3 is 46.67 is 380. So you will get average total cost. Once you have the average total cost, you have to find out marginal cost. How do you find out marginal cost? This is change in total variable cost, this one, and change in output. So 50 minus 0, 1 minus 0 is 50. 90 minus 50 is 40. 2 minus 1 is 1. So 40 by 1 is 40. 140 minus 90 is 50. 50 by 3. Sorry, 50 by 1. 2 minus 3 minus 2 is 1. 50 by 1 is 50. So you get 50. So you get marginal cost. And when you see the relationship, as long as marginal cost is here, marginal cost is less than average variable cost. Less. Here marginal cost is equal. Here the marginal cost is less than average variable cost. What will happen? Average variable cost will decrease, no? When the marginal cost is less than average variable cost. So the average variable cost will decrease, and respectively when the marginal cost increases more than the average variable cost will start decreasing. Okay, so this is how it works. So you cannot go for deciding the weightage because if you go for weightage, then you will not be able to perform well. Okay, so you should understand this. कि आप किसी भी चैप्टर को कम या हाई वेटेज नहीं दे सकते. Reason being, if you go for giving high or low weightage, then you never know in the exam you can have any question and you will not be able to perform. Okay, so do take care about this. So relationship between marginal and average cost we have shared. Just a recap of what we have shared today so that you understand the cost component. Now in your book, they have also given opportunity cost. I have not written over here opportunity cost. Reason being, opportunity cost, if you understand simply, what is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is direct cost. Direct cost is the cost which is incurred on any like a factor. You say that direct cost we have done. Direct cost we have done. Direct and traceable cost we have done. But opportunity cost we have not done. Opportunity cost is to some extent close to your opportunity implicit cost. Opportunity cost, for example, I say that you produce, suppose you have 5,000 rupees, okay? With 5,000 rupees, you decide to go for buying a book. So you buy a book of 5,000 is too much. I should say 100 rupees or 200 rupees. So you have 200 rupees and you go to buying the book. So you buy a book of 200 rupees. And if you would not have purchased that book of 200 rupees, you would have spent on something like food item. So that means because you have purchased that book, so you have to forego buying food for yourself or anything which you like the most, which could be within the reach of 200 rupees. So that's the opportunity cost. Okay. So opportunity cost is the alternative which you forego for. So suppose you have combination between A and B. Okay. So suppose let's say that you have option between A and B. So A is about reading from the book and B is to attend the virtual classes. Okay. So one is that reading from the book first and the other is that first you attend the virtual classes and then you start reading. So if you go for this one first, reading from the book and not attending the virtual classes, that means you will be devoting time for understanding the concept and then you will be trying to attend the questions. But if you first attend this virtual class and then you start reading the book, that means you will be saving your time. So, but opportunity cost is basically the trade-off cost between A and B. Okay, option A and B, and which is the best option. So, the closest option. So, opportunity cost helps firm to make decisions. If we go for raising, should we go for uh, deploying our own money, or should we go for raising loans, or should we go for producing by our own, or should we go for outsourcing? So opportunity cost helps business decision making to be more effective and for the long term. Okay, so just to recap of what we have discussed today, we start with the concept of cost analysis. This chapter is about cost, why cost is important, how what is the difference between production function and cost function. Production function is about physical aspects and cost function is about financial aspects. Then what is the difference between accounting cost and economic cost? Why accountants take care about only accounting cost, and when we talk about economics, why we talk about economic cost? Why it happens that economic profit can be less than the accounting profit? Okay, what is the difference between explicit cost and implicit cost? Why only explicit cost is recorded in books, in financial statements? Why not implicit cost is recorded? Then, so we had shared the example of accounting profit. Then what is the difference between direct cost and traceable cost? Direct cost is cost which you exclusively incur, and indirect cost can be a traceable cost. Direct cost and traceable cost is one the same. Indirect cost can be cost which is, for example, logistic cost, electricity cost, for example, the content cost, any cost which is there. So this is about indirect cost. Indirect cost help in terms of production process, but not directly in indirect manner. Direct cost directly makes impact on the production of the good or service. Okay. Then incremental cost. Incremental cost is the cost which you incur for additional cost which you incur for business decision making. So business decision making can be anything you go for deciding about that I want to expand the production line. I want to go for improvising my existing machine. For example, I say somebody asked that replacement of old machinery is sunk cost and incremental cost also. See, incremental cost of replacement of old machinery is that when you go for improvising the existing machinery and make it more efficient. For example, you have a PC and then you go for incorporating some software which can make your PC more efficient. That's incremental cost. But if you have a PC and you believe that this PC has become obsolete and you have to go for a new one and you go for selling it in the market and then you get some money from that and then you start working, that's not a sunk cost because you're getting some price for that. Okay, so new production line, new customers. Okay, so this is all about incremental, historical and replacement cost, which you reflect in your books. Historical cost, when you do your calculations, you see when the product has been purchased for that price during that period of year, you decide about the historical cost. Replacement cost is the cost which you go for replacing it with the current or the other, improvising the current one, extension of the current one. Private cost is the cost which is incurred by the firm, on the firm, and social cost is the cost which is incurred by the firm on others. So it's the external cost. It can be pollution. It can be exploitation of natural resources. It can be like cutting of trees. It can be like any impact which adverse impact on society. It can be positive also. Social cost can be positive also. That is social benefit when we talk about that. Okay, so environment pollution and water pollution, exploiting rivers is all social cost component. Then fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost and variable cost are the difference between the time period. Fixed cost is the cost which is incurred in the short term and variable cost is incurred in the long term. And then semi-variable cost, which is a combination of fixed cost and variable cost. Then step you have a fixed cost for a specific period of time and then sudden jump in the variable cost, which happens because of change in the transformation of the strategy. You go for training of the people, hiring new people, or any factor. Then the supply curve, we have understood the short-term supply curve, the relationship between total fixed cost, variable cost, and total cost. Why total cost, fixed cost is parallel to x-axis. Why total variable cost and total cost are inverse S-shaped because of the law of variable proportion. What is average fixed cost? Why average fixed cost continuously decreases? What is the relationship between average fixed cost and marginal cost and average total cost? In the short term, what is the concept of marginal cost? Why the marginal cost curve is U-shaped? What is the relationship between marginal and average cost? And this table is a summary of what we have discussed, the relationship between all the cost components in the short term. Okay, so that's it for the day. Please do revise all the concepts. Next class we'll discuss about long term. Today we have only spoken about or discussed about short-term cost components. So keep reading and keep learning. Bless you all.